Hey, I'm trying something new. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm trying a new webcam and a new sound system. So let me know if you can hear me, please. You got me in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Can you hear me? Cyron 19. What's happening? I got that in. I don't know what mic this is pulling off of. You hear me? Man, give me something in the chat. I'm doing something new. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Let me put it in here. Okay. Thank you, Empress. Yeah, thank you. Hey, I'm crazy. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. All right, so if you can hear me, then obviously you can see me. All is art. Cool. All right, do me a favor real fast. Give me a quick, appreciate it. Give me a quick thumbs up real fast. Um, just I don't know what they got, some crazy little algorithm when you do thumbs up. That way everybody who gets alerted faster, who subscribes and whatnot. All right. So give me some thumbs up. Appreciate it. So look, real fast. In the near future, we'll create a whole new platform, a whole nother type of production that is really going to be geared towards examining the truth of what we believe. And although this channel is hip hop astrology, I know that you understand that astrology is really a form of psychology that knows a very old mystical science in the sense of planetary placements and how it mirrors human behavior. I have to liken to the ancient Greek and Roman theology / mythology because they personified planets and constellations as gods and goddesses, thus showing us personality types of attributes. Fortuna would be the goddess of fortune. She'd be probably like a daughter of Jupiter, who is Zeus. Also Thor, who is also dealing with prosperity. Venus is Aphrodite, who is beauty. Apollo is the sun. Diana is the moon, and so forth and so forth. And it was really getting at psychology. Within the psychology, we have to examine beliefs. Within the psychology, we have to examine physical chain of events, experiences that shapes the belief. Okay? And so in doing that, we truly understand that the Black experience has been very unique in America. Very unique. And there's a major perception that I know I carried at some point in time, and I know a lot of people carry. And it is no longer necessary to have that type of perception because it's false. It's half false and it's half truth. This is interesting because now in the Kabbalion, which is an ancient Hermetic book, it talks about how all truths are but half truths and all paradoxes can be reconciled. It's very interesting because, like, how can you be right and wrong at the same time? So on one hand, there's a part of history that is true. And on another hand, it's a part where it's um, false. And I have to explain as more of the narrative of what we believe. So I had a conversation earlier with a partner of mine, um, nevergetavirusagain.com, or never get a computer virus again, Redcom computers. And I'm like, bro, do you remember, one, can you name 3 presidents that was instrumental into ending slavery? The best we can go is Abe Lincoln, right? Do you remember things like the Missouri Compromise? We don't remember these things. And I'm gonna tell you, there was like the great Dr. Carter G. Woodson wrote a book, The Miseducation of the Negro. The overall educational system, ladies and gentlemen, is broken. Is because the United States of America is an infant. This country is not even it's not even 300 years old. I mean, your granny didn't have internet. She didn't even have a typewriter. I remember when I was in middle school, 7th grade, and I'm only 42. I was on a typewriter in 7th grade. Wasn't no computer classes. It was a typewriter. You mess up, get the white out, put it on there, backspace, rotate the thing like you're rolling a big joint, right? Like, we're babies. So the educational model is not necessarily, I'm going to say this, it's not used as a target to purposely miseducate. It's old. I look at this material that my daughter's homeschool. I look at the material and I'm like, man, this is old and it has no bearing to the young psychology. So if I ask you without y'all using Google, like, you tell me what the Missouri Compromise was. Unless you're a history buff and you just got a good memory or you like history, it's a good chance you don't know. At 5th grade, when she got it, it's irrelevant to her experience, right? So they don't know when to teach information. Becomes the problem. Oftentimes when we hear information, hey, hold on, bro, I'm on YouTube, man. Say what up to the YouTubers. Can you hear me? You can't hear me. All right. So when we process information, I know the way my mind works is the mind starts to formulate pictures to get an idea in the context of what it is that you're reading. And so if we're talking about a hypersensitive subject, slavery, civil rights, those images are up in the analytical data, the facts, you may totally override that because of the dominance of the picture image in your head or that which you see, which is, that's why they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So case in point will be the infamous 3/5 joint. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Yo. Okay. Yeah, man. Hold on. I'm on YouTube, man. Say what up. No, that's all good. I'll hit you back. Okay. All right. And so the infamous 3/5, where I know good and well, I believe I can't remember when I was told, but I know the popular culture has the belief that the 3/5 thing deals with 3/5 of a human being. Even the great Jay-Z, who everybody pretty much puts him as the GOAT, the #1 rapper of all time. He even recently said it in the phrase with "What's Free" with Meek Mill, and 3/5, I believe, is the phrase. And when you do this test, I keep saying it on this channel, you go out and you ask people just a random conversation to see what they believe, just to see if that's true, that popular belief comes up. And it's as if, since we already know it's not true, if you don't know that it's not true, the reason why it's not true, the only thing you got to do is just go look it up. It's talking about shrinking. It's talking about not counting all of the slaves' votes. So the white slave holder can't have a bigger voting representation in the House of Representatives and Congress. You're not going to say that slaves are property and then you say property got a right to vote and you want me to count. No, if they property, then let's levy a tax on the property. Oh, now y'all don't want to levy a tax on the property because you say they're human. You see what I'm saying? So then it's easily misconstrued when they say, all right, we allow you to count 3 out of every 5. And then you say, well, we 3/5 of a human being. And that's not what happened. It's really unique if we can understand that, wait a minute, if they were supposed to, for them not to have to count all of these other people, 40% of the slave population wasn't counted, then that means there's less representatives who represent the idea of slavery that's going to the Congress. And this is what we need if we're going to get rid of slavery. You understand what I'm saying? And so when we hear that kind of information, 3/5, the subject matter and the context and the history, that image of slavery is so dominant in the head and it's so painful, and rightfully so, that we start to tune out and totally disregard the analytical factual data, because images, right hemisphere of the brain, analytical data, left hemisphere of the brain, are two totally different portions of the brain. So thus we're going to say what we feel, and what we feel is going to be a reflection based upon the physical conditions of what we see, and therefore all of the data must match the physical condition, not knowing that the data says no, it's deeper than that. We're actually going to shrink this thing, okay, called slavery. Now, I labeled this episode, and this is just really a test run, because I wholeheartedly, hear me out, I can get passionate about some things. It's never personal. I don't know you, some of you. It's just not personal. But I want to grow as an individual. And most importantly, I want to get to the truth of a very sensitive subject matter. So I openly welcome, when this show or when you see it on another platform, the American Rebuttal, I am going to state some chain of facts. What I'm going to say is facts. And if you wholeheartedly disagree, I want you to highlight the fact that I said that you disagree on, and then bring the supporting fact that shows that what I said is false. I'll say it again. I want to have a very open dialogue and rebuttal. I am going to state what I believe to be a fact on the record. If you wholeheartedly disagree, I want you to state the fact that you disagree, the one that I said, and then bring me a supporting statistic or history, a fact that says why my fact is indeed wrong. Okay? I'll tell you why. Because I'm going to respond. The last YouTube that I did was on Candace Owens and Kanye West. Why Kanye West likes the mind of Candace Owens. And I got some responses out of that. Because the subject matter and this flag behind me irritates people. And it used to get me, America, with the 3 Ks in it, until I started to develop or understand a truth in just simply research and look. Because it's not deep research, it's right there in front of our face. A lot of this stuff, our beliefs, is shaped off of the common consensus. The common consensus is Black people are Democrats. The common consensus is we all swag. The common consensus is we all listen to rap music. It's just a common consensus of fad. We can say certain words, slang, and you know exactly what we would know exactly what each other mean. It's a common consensus that's taking place. So our beliefs is a common core belief. Okay. So I'm gonna respond to this brother named Jamal Bethia, who came on and commented, and he said, all house Negroes think alike. And as far as your useless facts, a good lie / spin always has some truth in it. Yeah, you keep on waving masses flag. Okay. So I'm the house Negro. This is very interesting because when you look at, let's just look at the history, Civil War. Your worst case, black people's worst case was slavery. That's your lowest state. Only one flag came in and fought and actually got rid of and had slaves come on their side and got rid of slavery. And it's the flag that's behind me. So I don't even know what to say. Like, what are you saying? Wave master flag. First of all, the flag, if you understand the origin, I've been teaching on this for years. The United States of America has a deep infatuation with Egyptian history. And I'm going to go even further and tell you the idea, the invisible aspect of it that pops up in your head like the light bulb, the idea of where these white men got the idea from is from your ancestral spiritual communication that will serve you in a later time in the future to get you to remember so you can activate your own greatness. So in other words, let me make it plain. Why would you be kidnapped from Africa against your will? And then we're going to build edifices called the Washington Monument. We're going to go into southern Illinois and we're going to call all of southern Illinois Little Egypt. Google it. And then when you take a Google map and you zoom in on southern Illinois, you're going to find that there are some cities that are named exactly after some Egyptian cities, such as Cairo, that sits right there at the bottom of Illinois where the Mississippi and the Ohio meet. If you go further up the Mississippi, going towards northern Illinois, you will see Thebes, which is another city that was in Egypt. Okay. You will also see another city that's there. You'll see something else called the Pyramid State Park. Pyramid State Park. You'll see that. Okay. You'll also see another city. It's slipping me. It's not Mennefer because that's Memphis, but it's another city that's there. It'll come to me. But all of southern Illinois is known as Little Egypt. Facts. So even when you come down to Mennefer, which is Memphis, Tennessee, you coming from Cairo, Illinois, down to Mississippi, and you will come to the Memphis, Tennessee. Everybody know that there's this big glass building that's shaped just like a pyramid, that is a pyramid on the Mississippi River. And Memphis is named after Mennefer, which is the ancient Egyptian city that deals with Ptah now, right here in America. It's a known fact that along the Mississippi River, it was these Native American structures called mounds, and they were shaped like pyramids, and they look identical to what you have pyramids along the Nile River in Egypt. So why is the white man not hiding this in that day and time? Because I'm gonna always tell you, you have two groups of people in the world, period. The righteous and the not so righteous. The righteous people will get an idea. They think it's their idea, but it's not. We all get this happen. All of a sudden, you think about you doing something, all of a sudden something pop up in your head. You're just the receiver of the information. You're just the vessel of the information. You see? We all vessels of the great creator. So we're just a vessel. But these things are put here to jog your ancient memory so you'd be able to do the law of correspondence. Very interesting, because in that same book, I'm telling you, the Kabbalion, the second law is 7 laws. The first one is all is mental. The second law is the law of correspondence. And I tell people, this is my favorite law because it's the law that allows you to be able to show, improve the divinity of God. Because everything after the law of correspondence, polarity, rhythm, gender, cause and effect, all of those things are talking about duality. Correspondence encompasses all of the laws that follows it. You see what I'm saying? Everything that comes after that is just different forms of how you can be able to approve the existence of the first law, which is all is mental, the mind, or what we call the G-force, God. Okay? And so these monuments, the Washington Monument that's pointing up to the heaven in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has so many zodiacal statues and paintings. It's almost countless. I mean, it's tons of it in D.C. It's talking about your relationship with a celestial creator, in a sense, and that oneness, because the earth is in the cosmos as well. Sometimes we act like the earth ain't a part of the solar system, and we just think everything is out there, but we're the earth, we're out there too, right? So let me back up a little bit. Oh no, let me get on God. Let me just do on this flag. So the flag in itself, if you go to the United States, we know has its origins. We like to give it July 4th, 1776. That's fine. This is interesting because the sun and Sirius are in a perfect alignment. I mean, perfect straight line. Okay. The sun, earth, and Sirius. In fact, this is the three wise men, the star of Bethlehem, and why these three wise men. They never said three, but they just said wise men, but we always assume it was three. That's interesting because it never said three when you go look at the scripture. But it's talking about this three-way alignment of Sirius, sun, and earth that only happens 2 times a year. And Sirius is the brightest star of all of the heavens, is actually said to be our sun's son. And then the Dogon have a rich history of Sirius. They actually say we come from Sirius. And then in Egypt, you had a goddess named Sepdet who had a star on her head. And we know that the temple of Isis, known as the temple of Aset as well, and Philae, was built in commemoration of the star Sirius around this time of year, the Aquarius full moon. In the morning, Sirius comes up, and then the sun comes up. And then this was like the Sirius, you couldn't see it because the sun would come up first, and then Sirius would come up for like a period of 72 days. You couldn't see the star. And so this was the time that the Nile River would start to flood, and there'd be a big celebration right this time right now. Okay, big celebration. So July the 4th, the sun on average is about 13 degrees Cancer, meaning July the 4th is the 13th day of Cancer. Okay, and the sun is in a straight alignment with Sirius. So the 13 stripes corresponds to that. The original 13 colonies has this origin, right? And then as we progress to 50 states and said 50 stars, that's because Sirius has a companion star known as Sirius B that you can't see with the naked eye. And about every 50 years, they switch positions. They do like this figure 8 dance like your DNA. About every 50 years. Facts. Okay? So really, our grand celebration of July the 4th, somebody knew cosmology. Somebody understood that the sun, Sirius, and Earth are in a perfect straight line. Declare your independence now. There's no secret that Benjamin Banneker, under George Washington allowed, or you can really say that, he allowed Banneker to design Washington, D.C., and Banneker did such, known as the Federal Triangle, based upon his vast knowledge of astronomy. Facts. Okay? So we got an African that's designing the layout of Washington, D.C. based off of astronomy. And now knowing what I just showed you, this flag has its origins in your ancient Egyptian Dogon, which is West Africa, Mali, okay? It has its origins right there back to the motherland that we say that we love and is the creator of all. It does. And you wonder why this country is so great. It's because the spirit of it is a direct reflection of you and I and everybody's greatness, the great amalgamation of everyone. Okay? All right. So this is not NASA's flag. This is our flag. and the only flag that says, I'm going to bang for you in slavery. Because again, out of all the nations, Great Ethiopia, the Sudan, Tanzania, Chad, the voodoo nations of the Togo, Nigeria, nobody came and interceded and said, we know slaves is over here, we busting y'all ass for having slaves. Nobody did that. No Islamic flag, nobody. United States of America used a defensive strategy that that led to our absolute freedom and end of slavery by playing defense. Because the United States of America did not start the Civil War. South Carolina started the Civil War. Okay? So we played defense. And so I'm going to argue that here it is. The United States of America as a whole we are taught is 100%. That's math. As a whole, it's not racist. That's saying like all the black people don't like white people. You can't say that. All white people don't like black people. Come on, man. We're not that foolish. Can't say that. As a whole, it's not racist. Absolutely not. It's not. As a whole. In fact, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. And I'm going to tell you that the founding of the United States of America after the Revolutionary War at the Constitutional Convention 1787, 88, and 89, it is purposely planned that the institution of slavery is a no-no, it's bogus, and it is going to go, but it's going to go systematically, which means we're not going to overthrow it overnight. We're not built for it. We just had a war. Okay, Revolutionary War. We're not built for a civil war, but it's going to change and it's bogus. That happened at the founding of this country. Nobody's saying it. I'll take the bullet for it and be the coon, but I'm gonna tell the truth because there's just no honor and no glory in holding on to something. This country is racist and it started off racism. And when I say country, I'm talking about the United States of America having this founding and deciding what it is going to do as this new nation. They did not have ill intention towards the black man and woman. I'm sorry. And I can prove it. Only thing we got to do is look at this. You tell me this. And here's a fact that could be, here's a fact. So again, if you disagree with the facts, please state the fact that you disagree with that I said and bring me a supporting fact that says, see, your fact is bogus, it's null and void because of this fact. I'm gonna need your fact to cancel out my fact for sure. Fact. United States of America has a constitutional convention in Philadelphia, 1787. Fact number 2. At the same time, 1787, something is passed called the Northwest Ordinance. Inside the real NWO, New World Order, Northwest Ordinance, it specifically says slaves are not allowed in this territory. What is this territory? It is now known as Ohio. It is known as Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. So if you know anything about a map, no slaves above the Ohio River, no slaves above or what we would call west of the Appalachian Mountains, basically west of Pennsylvania, that's above the Ohio River, okay? Ohio, and a little part of West Virginia, okay? No slaves are allowed above the Ohio that is east of the Mississippi, which will be the Minnesotas, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, okay? So if this country has its founding in 1787, and it does, Constitutional Convention, it also has a clear edict on the table that slavery is not allowed in this territory. Come on. Come on, man. How do you argue that as if that has no merit? Come on, can the church say amen? Amen. Okay? That can't be argued. I'm sorry. I just can't not canceled with another. See, if you bring another fact, it's not going to cancel out the fact that you would have to literally show me. And the only thing you could do is really say, you know what? Let me go down to go to Philadelphia, go to the Library of Congress, and pull up the original script and see if they actually said that. Because right now, popular consensus is showing that they said no slaves in this territory. Okay, it's the only way that you can mute that fact. Now you can bring something else that's, well, they were still doing this. That's fine. I'm talking about muting the fact. So that fact stands. Okay, let that one stand. All right. So then the brother named Warren Caldwell. So Jamal, the flag is our flag. So beat it. Okay. So Warren Caldwell had two comments. Okay. He said, I like some of you and Minister Jew's content, but if America has always been against slavery, please explain the 13th Amendment in the prison industrial complex. Let me explain this first. Man, this is so easy to explain, ladies and gentlemen. One is old as hell. I'm going to read this thing because when I hear this argument, people are saying it as if the 13th Amendment is this clever ass trick that is going to destroy Black people. We let you out of slavery, but we created this 13th Amendment because we're going to get you with it. Listen to the psychology. I don't know if you're blatantly misinforming our people or you really believe the misinformation that you're spreading, but it's just not true, God. I will always say, tell me one fact that you disagree with that you say is not true, and that's why I'm saying show me the fact. Is this your feeling and your opinion and your emotion, or can you state the fact that you disagree? Okay. America had its vision for its nation, and they knew that slavery could not continue on in the form it was. So they knew that if they wanted to make their vision a reality, they had to create a new form of slavery via the 13th Amendment and the prison industrial complex that's more compatible with their goals as a nation. This is said by Mr. Warren Caldwell on the video that I did. Kanye West likes the way Candace Owens thinks. So he clearly said that the 13th Amendment is this new ploy, a new reality, a new trick, because for some reason, and this is strange to me, for some reason, the white boy down south could not continue the institution of slavery, and he foresaw that he's going to have to change it. Lies, Warren. You're lying. And this is what I mean by the emotional aspect of it. If they foresaw that slavery was going to have to come to an end and they have to institute a new form of slavery, then why go to civil war? Why did the slave state get mad at the election of Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina, and go bust their gun at the Star of the West, a shit in Charleston, South Carolina, known as the Star of the West in Fort Sumter? That don't make sense, bro. That does not make sense, okay? Because if they foresaw that they're going to, we got to create a new institution, then why are you going to war? Why did you leave the United States of America? Huh? The Confederate States, why did they leave the United States? Because they left. They left the United States of America. So that doesn't fit the narrative that they saw something. So that's bullcrap. Another thing, give me some thumbs up on this, because this shit is fire. I don't care what y'all say. Listen, give me some thumbs up so we can alert some people to this. Peace, Miss Love and Life. Peace. What's happening? Carl, what up? What up? What up? OG Bruce Lee, what up? Moon Goddess, what up? All right. All right. All right. Man, Bruce, that's a whole nother conversation. Why did we get enslaved? Because the question is, this is the real question. It's twofold. What did you do in the past to deserve to be enslaved? Because everybody talk about, do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe God knows everything? Yes. Do you believe God is the hearer and seer of everything? Yes. Do you believe God allows everything to happen if it happens because God knows everything, right? Yes. Why did God allow slavery? Oh shit, we're gonna be quiet. We don't want to have the moral conversation of what we possibly did in the past, but I'm not even interested in the past, bro. Because now, when I understood retro causality, that your future shit that you do can have an effect on the past. What if slavery was a punishment for some shit that you and I or a future generation was going to do? Ooh, buddy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But that's a whole nother conversation, and we need to be purely engaged for quantum thinking on a whole nother level to even have that kind of conversation. Okay? All right. Now, let's bring it back. So if the 13th Amendment, because they love this shit, the 13th Amendment and says you are not a slave no more, but his argument is the other part of it that says once you get locked up and commit a crime, basically you're a slave, you chattel slavery. Okay, I disagree with it. Prisoners shouldn't be treated as that. Go, you work, you get 25 cents on the books an hour. Totally disagree. I know, I've been there. I live that shit, bro. I know what it's like to go through to the system and not have nan body on the outside, sending something in the inside for me, bro. I've been there all by my lonesome, for sure. Okay, so totally understand it, disagree with it. But here's the thing. You do know that that trick called you going to prison for them to enslave you, it only works if you commit a crime. And here's the thing with that. They tell you the laws. Don't speed, don't carry a gun. If you don't have don't, if it's not registered in your name, don't sell dope, don't kill nobody, don't hit nobody, don't break people's stuff. Like, don't break in somebody's house. You know what the law is. So if the 13th Amendment, the prison portion of it, is a trick to enslave black folks immediately after slavery, then why tell black folks the rules, the laws, to keep them out of it? It don't make sense. And again, it only works if you commit a crime. Not only that, it also affects white people too. Oh yeah, because there's a whole bunch of white people that are locked up, and they are absolutely subject to the same rules. I know. Okay? So the 13th Amendment being some type of trap is bullcrap. I mean, it sucks. It horribly sucks. Because at the population growth that we have, 40 something million today, compared to 4 million in 1861 at the start of the Civil War, like, the best you got is if we commit a crime, you're going to get us. And let's be real. If you do commit a crime, everybody don't even go to the prison industrial complex. Some people just get probation. So if it's a grand trick, why ain't we all going off? It's bogus. It's emotional. It has absolutely no sound argument. Okay? So totally, 13th Amendment is whack. It affects white people. White, that means that it's not racist. Because if it affects white people and they're locked up and they are, then it can't be racist. So it just and it baffles me how you can't even see the most basic common sense things. And this is deep. This is very deep, because that means that part of your brain that is dealing with processing logical information is being overran by another portion of the brain. And it's a fact that the portion of the brain that deals with analytical stuff, the frontal lobe, is the Johnny come lately of consciousness in the brain, in the limbic center, okay, which holds all of the subconscious processes and glands, okay, where memory is, where saliva production is, and things of that nature, your emotional centers. That brain is actually older than the prefrontal cortex. So technically speaking, when you emotionally are responding to something and you can't bring fact and you can't surf through it and bring data, you are responding from a more primitive state of being. It's old. The new you that's trying to come online is trying to get you to evolve. I say it all the time. You're in the process of evolution. You got wisdom teeth that has absolutely no wisdom in them, and they're connected to nerves in your brain called cranial nerves. And your body, our body has not yet figured out a way for these four extra teeth to come in so we can be functioning with them. We're in the process of some form of evolution. Okay? Facts. All right? Now, moving on. He made a second comment. The white Union soldiers were so appreciative of the black Union soldiers that they killed some of them after the black soldiers helped them defeat the Confederates, i.e. the Devil's Punch Bowl. Haven't looked that up. The Union needed black soldiers to win the war, so please quit lying to our people like the Union was some benevolent group of white people, because that's BS. They did what they had to do to win the war. The Union was probably just the lesser of two evils. Listen to this. The Union was probably the lesser of two evils back then. And I told him in the comment, probably means it's not a fact, bro. You're guessing. See, you're responding and you're guessing. Like, really look at that. You're not bringing no statistical data that suggests that, hey, this was the turning point of the war when black folks got into it. Go get it. You're going to see the 54th Massachusetts. You're going to see the first Kansas was the first ones to get in the game. Okay. And you're going to see when they came in the game, bro, they didn't fight in the key battles. The key battles and the turning point of the Civil War is, how ironic is this? July the 3rd and July the 4th is the turning point of the Civil War, where three battles are spread out hundreds to thousands of miles apart. Vicksburg, Mississippi, Eastern Tennessee, and Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. These three battles are concluding on the same day, fought at different times. And they started on different times. Vicksburg been going on since like May. Okay, Gettysburg was like a 3-day event. You know what I mean? But they all concluded at the same time. And every Civil War historian would tell you that that is the turning point of the Civil War right there. And it was. Okay? Now, in this thing right here where he's saying, I'm all for thinking positive, but I'm not going to lie to myself when I know I have a nation as a whole, Democrats and Republicans, that view my people as the enemy combatant. You hear this? Again, I'm not going to tell you, and he said the nation as a whole. That's 100%. You can't make that kind of claim, man. You don't even know 100% of all of the 100 senators. You don't know all of the representatives. You don't know their viewpoint. So you cannot say all of them as a whole see you as an enemy combatant. You see what I'm saying? That's just immature to say. You can't say that. But I'm not going to say that. And I said it. America, I'm going to tell you, majority is not racist. It's not. And I mean, because if it was, man, trust me and believe me, we would still be in the same state that we was. Something happened, and we know what happened. Okay. And so I disagree that we're seen as a whole as enemy combatants. How can we be seen as enemy combatants, man, when you look out into the landscape and I start seeing stuff like, oh, there's a trigger word, people get mad at this. Oh, Jay-Z put together a legal team for a kid who didn't want to say the Pledge of Allegiance or the Star Spangled Banner and was in trouble with the law over this, and the kid was found not guilty. Like, why let him win the case? Oh, Dr. Sebi fights the New York State Supreme Court and says that he can too heal AIDS and all of these other things. They said, yes, sir, you're right, not guilty. Why didn't they get the memo if they against Dr. Sebi? And speaking on this health thing too, let me tell y'all something. The number one killer, the number 1 and 2 killer for Black people, heart and heart disease and cancer, is the same 2 killers in the same order for white Americans. So I'm not even buying the health conspiracy no more. I'm not buying it because the same thing that kill our Black ass is the same thing that's killing their white ass. So where's the conspiracy at? They're dying from the exact same thing. It feels good to say these things and to have this victimhood narrative from the past. And it logically makes sense based off of the emotional aspect. But when you're presented with facts, you're supposed to make a conversion. I'm sorry. You just can't say, well, because it feels good, I just can't. Right? Me and Jew had this conversation. Jew has this membership called Quantum Scriptures, where he teaches from the Bible and show how that these people are not necessarily historical context. It's talking about different states of consciousness and awareness in phases that human beings go through throughout their life. Okay? So this one sister stopped being in the membership and she admittedly said, I know what you're saying is the truth. However, it's the Bible, and I'm embracing Africa right now, and I just can't let that go. I can't accept it. She said it's the truth, and it makes sense. But the mere fact that she has the African thing in her, the history, the love of the culture, right? She can no longer accept that truth because she needs to hold on Africa to develop a sense of identity. And that's perfectly fine as long as you can realize that the truth is universal and you're going to grow. It's different if you say it's bogus and you never even believed it, but you know, it was still enlightening to say the least. Okay. So this second statement by Warren, bro, you're totally off. And I'm not saying that there was. Listen, I'm very aware that there are some northern people northern people that want Black people to vote. You had people who that was in the north that didn't like you, but for some reason they fought in the union and they knew that as a result of winning you would be free, but yet personally they didn't like you. That's true. And you had southern people who fought in the Confederacy who, and I swear to God, I'm gonna do a story on this one time called Conflicted Souls. Go look at Lieutenant General James Longstreet for the Confederate Army. He fights in the Confederacy, right? Known as Lee's old war horse. Like James Longstreet he was all right, and he was all right. After the Civil War, General Grant, who then becomes President Grant, gives Longstreet a job in New Orleans to be head of customs. In New Orleans, white folks get mad at Black folks on Canal Street and they have this big ass bang with each other. James Longstreet, who fought for the Confederates, fought for the slaveholders, got with the Black people and gave them weapons to fight against the white militia. Facts, man. Look it up. So you got conflicted souls on both sides. I'm never going to say people from the North or the Union Army was 100% loving Black folks and they cared for you. No, ain't what it is. I'm saying that there was a force of truth that had to come through to solve an issue. And it's just so ironic and funny to me that even though some people will say, I don't care for Black people, but I'm going to fight on the side for the Union, and I don't feel strongly enough where I'm going to go join the Confederacy. And then, like I just said, you have people in the Confederacy that didn't like you, but will later come and help you. I give you another one. Amos T. Ackerman, Akerman. First of all, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, was founded by Ulysses S. Grant when he was president, and its first mode of order was to arrest and convict the Ku Klux Klan. Amos T. Ackerman fought in the war as a Confederate. He was a lawyer. He fought for the Confederacy. Look it up. But after the war, he comes into the Department of Justice and he starts trying and arresting Ku Klux Klan members and start selecting Black and Jewish jurors, along with white jurors as well. And they totally dismantle the first Klan. This is why when you look into the Ku Klux Klan history, it'll say the first Klan and the second Klan. The first Klan got destroyed by who? President Grant and a former Confederate. You understand what I'm saying? That's interesting. Look at that psychotic. You fought for the side that wanted slaves, and then after y'all lose, then you go come into the law, and then you start arresting the damn KKK. It's weird, man. It's weird. That's why I'm saying this spirit of truth thing. What's the famous book? What is it? Race knows no color line. I think that's what it is, right? So let me address this last one. April Awakenings. A sister came on. She said, "Wow, I typically like the knowledge you bring, but this here is dead wrong. I just read The Color of Law. If you read it, you will no longer believe the good old U.S. of A. has its hands clean of outright racism on both political sides." I don't believe that. I never said that the Republican Party is 100% clean. I don't believe the Union Army is 100% clean. I'm just choosing to ride a very a truth where something happened called tensions in Civil War. A Republican Party was indeed founded in 1854. It was known to be the Abolition Party. It was known and it was called the Black Republicanism. They teach Black Republicanism. Okay, it was known as the Black Party. It was the Black Republican Party. That's what they call it. Stephen Douglas, look it up. Stephen S. Look like Stephen is how it's spelled. Stephen Douglas of 1858 said this himself. Look it up. I'm not lying. I'd be a fool to think that that's 100%. So I never said that, sis. But I would, as I put in the comment, you said I'm dead wrong. I would like for you to quote the fact in where I am dead wrong. Do that for me, okay? So that concludes the actual rebuttals that I got on that particular post. You know what I'm saying? All right. So here goes some questions in the chat. What do you think about saying that there's two sets of laws, one for blacks and one for whites? Good question. Good question. I don't have an opinion on it. Now, I do, and when I say by that, because I want to form an opinion based off of conviction rates and things of that nature. I want to have some type of factual data that's behind it and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know, but I would love to see it. I would love to see it. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see it. All right. And so again, if anybody, right, they went to war on trade. If anybody, again, I mean, I'm saying it in all honesty to have a great open dialogue, a conversation, because it's something new that's about to come out where we really gotta get on this thing. Me and Jew gotta physically be together on camera and start creating some content and episodes that's going to delve into this thing, because this is a severe mental hangup. We can't name 3 presidents that was instrumental in getting rid of slavery. We don't remember. We just don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We're actually told the opposite. We're told the opposite. We believe the opposite, and it's retarding, meaning it's slowing down. Okay, I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way. It's slowing down the evolution of where we can be going. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, this is the land of milk and honey. This is prosperity time, and we have these remnants of Black Wall Street. That's not the United States of America. That was the Ku Klux Klan. The United States of America dropped the ball. Yeah, this is chess though. I tell you where America dropped the ball at. Dropped the ball at the after President Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, in the election going against Tillman, a Democrat. It was so intense and only won by one electoral vote that they had to come up with a compromise, and the compromise was let me win, the Republican, and I'll withdraw the federal troops out of the South. At that time, after the Civil War, that era is known as Reconstruction because the country got messed up through war. So we got to reconstruct this thing. The South got divided into 5 military districts. Each district was to have a former Union general in charge of the district. This military district is on deck for what? To make sure that you Confederates who just lost the war, to make sure that y'all ain't trying nothing bogus, such as creating the Ku Klux Klan, which later becomes Jim Crow laws and the black codes. The federal government, the Union Army, which Harriet Tubman was part of the Union Army. I always got to say it because we love Harriet, but we never say that part. She was a Union soldier and she was a spy for the Union Army. I keep telling y'all, she rode with Colonel James Montgomery. Okay. She also was told to meet my man Black Dave Hunter out of Troy, New York, who was a war general, who also passed the first emancipation before Abraham Lincoln did, okay, and emancipated slaves through his special field order as a war general in South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, but Abe Lincoln rescinded it because Abe Lincoln was called a moderate Republican. Abe Lincoln was the coldest diplomat ever to play the game, man. A lawyer, which means you're going to get some double talking taking place, but he wanted to appease to both sides. Meaning, listen, this slave thing is immoral, which he said he detested, he said he hated. But at the same time, too, we shouldn't have to go to war over this. You see what I'm saying? You got to look at the climate of that time. It was so thick, man, that the only way that Lincoln can win the second election was to get a Democrat slaveholder as his vice president, who was Andrew Johnson. Just to say, here's Southern boys, we just beat your ass in the Civil War, but y'all got a little step. You got the vice presidency, so come on, chill out, fall back a little bit. We don't want to battle again, and y'all just got that ass beat, so kind of fall back a little bit. Let's get back on track here and build something great. This is war tactics that's taking place. But Abe couldn't win without that. So if you would have automatically put them back in control, then man, you see what happened. Trump will come in and he'll reverse Obama stuff. Every president undoes the last president. So what you would have thought would have happened if Abe Lincoln didn't win the election and the Republican Party didn't keep winning for a good time period immediately after slavery? They could have reversed that shit and put everybody back into slavery. That would have been nasty. That could have happened. So with Rutherford B. Hayes, he had to say, all right, listen, let me win and I'll take out the federal troops and y'all can just go about your business. And then the South was like, bet, cool, you the president. And then when that happened, that's when the black codes came. So if you know how to play chess, please tell me if you're playing an equally skilled opponent, you're not going to be able to just keep going forward and win the game without ever having to back up. That's not happening. That's not happening. You have to back up sometime. And then you have to move forward again. And that's what happened. Rutherford B. Hayes, Republican Party, had to back up. And at the cost of backing up, black codes, Jim Crow, and things of that nature come in. But it's real simple. That stuff is Confederate behavior. They're mad they lost the war. That is not the United States government policy. Now, the radical Republicans, who's General Grant, who later becomes the President Grant, Thaddeus Stevens, Charles Sumner, shout out to my man Ben Wade, Ohio. Like, you had some cats in there that was like, listen, don't let no Confederates get in any aspect of government. If they were a lieutenant in the army and of a higher rank, they should not be allowed in government. Because the radical Republicans' mindset was this: yo, they left the country and started a war, so much so, and then these people became skilled enough to become high-ranking officials in the army. They can't have no citizenship and no rights here in this country. They can have the citizenship, but they can't have no rights. Basically trying to give them an invitation for them to leave the country. This is the Reconstruction Plan from the radical Republicans, known as the Ironclad Oath. And make them take an oath that they never went against the United States. Abe Lincoln pocket vetoed that shit, didn't pass it, because he wanted to do something more moderate called the 10% plan, when 10% of the population can say, hey, I swear my allegiance to the United States of America, and also I'm going to ratify and allow the 13th Amendment to be a part of, the system, our state laws. The radical Republicans weren't playing with them. The radical Republicans didn't want no Confederates in power, because they understood that they'd still do that slick ass shit, which later became reality, called Jim Crow and the Black Code and the Black Codes. In Mississippi to this day, still find the Confederate flag in their state flag. I got a problem with that. I really got a problem with that. I got a problem with that one, because I know Mississippi was number 2 to lead the Confederacy. Lead the United States of America, join the Confederacy, and according to what I saw, they had absolutely the most lynchings against Black folks in the Civil War. I got a real problem with them honoring the Confederacy that particular way. Okay? All right. So any questions? I got to go get my son in a minute. Then I got to switch gears and get to work. Almost real estate time. But any questions? Any rebuttal? I'd like to take a rebuttal real fast. That'd be great. And it's good for the mind. It keeps us healthy. It allows us to examine the topic at hand. Because if you come from one side, I come from another side, we'll be able to get to the center of it and whatnot. All right. Any questions? I got any facts for y'all? Any facts? Hey man, there's no overwhelming proof, and I'm setting it up for another conversation. Maybe I shouldn't do that, because then I leave the door open without saying no facts. Or maybe I could give you a fact. Maybe I can give you a fact. There is something that I do want to share with y'all. I gotta find which one it is though. It's right here. Did you know that out of homicides, period, 93% of Black homicides are caused by another Black person, which means only 7% is another race that is doing it. 93% is Black on Black. So that means if we put 10 Black people in the room and they were all going to die by a gun, 9 of them will be killed by ourselves, another Black person. 9. White men, right? White men have a 84% white on white homicide rate, okay? Which means 16% of their deaths is coming by the hands of somebody else compared to our 7. 16% is coming at the hands of somebody else. And I'm using 2013 stats from the Department of Justice. So in other words, if there was, I'm not going to even get into that. I ain't going to get into it. I'm just let you ponder on that, man. That's a whole nother subject matter. I'm going to let you ponder on it. And I kind of I put that out there to say that I know I was told that I had the perception that we being gunned down. But the truth of the matter is, and I told you, I should start being a factual butthole. And every week or every day, or maybe at least every week on Sunday, I should post. By the way, a black kid or a person didn't die by the hands of a white cop this week. Like the Mike Browns and the Sandra Blands, those stories are not, they're not the majority. Nowhere near the majority. So to develop a piece of the psychology to make me believe that I am an endangered species is crap. 1861, you're 4 million deep. In 2000, in the last census I saw, 13 maybe, 15, you 41 million deep. Where? Where? Where are we being massively exterminated at? Where? We're growing. That whole thing about poverty, and I don't like the observation that was made, we'd be broke in 2053. No, we won't. No, we won't. We will not. It's not about Democrat or Republican. It's about humanity is on a course of progressing as a whole. When you go pull up unemployment numbers, it's always been shrinking since they start recording them in the 70s. For black people, they start recording them in the 70s. The unemployment rate is just shrinking. I always say our worst case scenario, unemployment wise, black unemployment rate was with Reagan. It was like 21 or 23%. That means out of 10 black people, 2 of them wouldn't have a job and 8 would. That's freaking amazing. That's our worst case scenario. Our worst case scenario, out of 10, 8 people got jobs and 2 don't. That's pretty freaking amazing. So it's something that's happening here where the information that we're hearing is conjuring up an old historical truth of racism where we were victims, and that trauma amplifies the current news that we hear, and it over dramatizes the reality of what we live in. That's just true. All right. Hence Cain was informed to subdue his passions. Yes, Tubal Cain too. All right. So all right, man. So I'm out of here, man. I just want to, give you some feedback and whatnot. Kind of want to just respond, and I want to test this new camera and this microphone out, really, for real, for real. All right. But again, anybody come after this, please, please, I just beg of you, if you rebut it, please state the fact that I said, and then bring me a supporting fact that cancels out what I said. Okay. If you can't cancel it out, then I guess if you want to bring a contrasting fact, but In 1787, this is what I mean by a contrasting fact, and I get off of it. In 1793, the United States government passed the fugitive slave law. The government did. So then you can say, well, the government was racist because they passed the fugitive slave law. Then I can say, well, in 1794, George Washington signed off on the Slave Act prohibition and said, the United States of America is not allowed and will not export slaves out of this country. That shit's going to stop. So if I said that first, you can't cancel the fact that George Washington did indeed sign that law. But what you can do is bring a contrasting fact to say, well, wait a minute, just a year prior, he signed off on the Fugitive Slave Act. And that's great. That's a contrasting fact. Because now we got to look at the dichotomy of that. In one breath, Mr. Washington, you're signing a fugitive slave bill. But on the next breath, the next year, you sign something that says no slaves are allowed out the country. So what is your motive? And since no slaves come after the fact that you did the Slave Act, is no slaves your motive, since no slaves is sort of like retaliation? And if I rewind the tale, Mr. Washington, you were present at the Constitutional Convention where you said slavery is going to stop. I know your motive, Mr. Washington, but you can bring a contrasting fact. That's great, because there was a battle that was taking place. It's clear. Me and you say it all the time. When you deal with this black and white issue, I don't like when Khalid and all them be saying they. That bothers me. Say Confederates, because that's what you're talking about. You had a Confederate ideology, and then you had a Union ideology. You had free states and you had slave states. The battle of these two. And I'm telling you what you're going to do. You're going to be talking about facts from the slave holders. I'm not talking about them. I'm coming from the side of the Union, the people from the free states, who also was creating parties called the Free Soil Party, right? These people who had this idea of freedom and liberty for everybody. I'm talking about what they did and how they won. I'm not defending and bringing up the shit that these crooked slaveholder people are trying to put on the law books that the United States of America had to pass at that time, because, again, they were the majority at one point. Okay? All right, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all. Hit me up if y'all need me. All right? Peace.